Resident Evil Zero Remake is reportedly locked in for a 2028 release, and this is no longer a simple guess. New information from multiple, reliable sources has corroborated not just the year, but the project's internal codename, a potential lead actor, and exactly how this deeply controversial prequel fits into Capcom's grand plan. This roadmap leak doesn't just establish a game, it reinvents the whole Resident Evil release strategy over the next 5 years, and it demonstrates that Capcom has the most aggressive and smartest pipeline in the whole business. To begin with, the Resident Evil Zero Remake is supposedly coming out in 2028. It is not doing this in a vacuum, as it is announced to be releasing only 1 year after the long-awaited Code Veronica Remake, which sources are purportedly planning to release in Q1 2027. Second, it is not the hot air of some haphazard forum. The RE0 project is apparently codenamed Chamber, a clear reference to protagonist Rebecca Chambers, and has been in development for several years. Third, we have a major name attached, Jon McLaren, who absolutely nailed the role of Star-Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy game, is rumored to be part of the project, almost certainly as the new face and voice of the game's co-protagonist, Billy Coen. Beyond Capture Studios is also said to be handling the performance capture, signaling a high-budget cinematic approach. What this really entails, since this timeline is far more than it appears. This fact, which was revealed by the most trustworthy leaker Dusk Golem, and now supported by MP1ST, creates a crystal-clear vision of Capcom's strategy. They are officially running a multi-track system to dominate the horror genre, and it's frankly brilliant. We have the new mainline entries, like the upcoming Resident Evil Requiem in 2026, and the expected Resident Evil 9 in 2029. And now we have the remake track, which is filling the gaps every single year. This new roadmap confirms the pattern we saw with RE2, RE3, and RE4 is not just continuing, it's accelerating. This isn't just a pattern, it's a remake factory in the best possible way, built on the maturity of the RE engine. They have refined this process to a science, allowing them to de-risk their entire portfolio. The remakes, which are almost guaranteed financial hits, are bankrolling the development of the new, more experimental titles, like Requiem. But the most significant detail in this entire leak, the one that tells us everything about Capcom's current thinking, is the order of release. For the longest time, leaks had RE0 and Code Veronica's release dates swapped. This switch is a massive, deliberate, and incredibly smart strategic pivot. It strongly suggests that Code Veronica is either further along in development or, far more likely, it is being deliberately prioritized to build fan trust. To tell the truth, Code Veronica is the game which fans have been shouting at. It is the real sequel to RE2, to the story that the first one leaves, explaining the horrific background of the Ashford family and the grand comeback of Albert Wesker. It is the piece that has gone missing. Capcom is providing the best fan service by making it the first in 2027. It is of them learning to earn the right to be weird. This action accumulates a huge stock of goodwill with the community and then allows Resident Evil Zero to be what it ought to be, more experimental, more difficult, and risky, and needs more time in the oven. And now, to be perfectly honest, Resident Evil Zero requires a lot of work. This is not a simple RE4 style glow-up, which was already a modern masterpiece. RE0 is the black sheep of the classic era for a reason. Its core gameplay mechanic, the partner zapping system, was revolutionary for the GameCube in 2002, but is seen as an absolute chore today. The entire game required you to manage two characters, Rebecca Chambers and Billy Coen, swapping between them on the fly. This wasn't co-op, this was single-player, micromanagement. Puzzles were often clunky, leave one character on a pressure plate affairs, and in combat, your AI partner was often a sitting duck. But even that wasn't the game's cardinal sin. The one thing a remake must address, the mechanic that broke an entire generation of players, was the complete and total removal of the item boxes. This one decision defined RE0. Instead of storing items in a magical interconnected box, you were forced to physically drop your items on the floor, anywhere on the floor. Theoretically, this was a good idea, but practically, it was a nightmare logistically. The whole game was turned into a boring and miserable loop of backtracking. breathtaking. The training facility, which is the main hall, would necessarily be converted into herbs, ink ribbons, and key items. Junk pile. The most terrible experience in the game was to come to know that you needed the hook shot, and then you realized you had left it 3 floors down in a monster-filled route 20 minutes earlier. It was cruel, and not necessarily fun survival horror. It is not merely a matter of a Capcom updating the graphics of the RE engine. The issue lies in the fact that the entire core loop of the game itself has to be redesigned on a conceptual level. A good nod is the codename chamber, but the actual issue is how they rectify this. Do they add item boxes? If they do, they fundamentally break the original level design, which was built around this limitation. The game suddenly becomes infinitely easier. Do they keep the item drop system? If so, they risk alienating the entire massive new audience brought in by the RE4 remake, who will not stand for that level of archaic tedium. This is where the 2028 date makes sense. They need the extra time to figure this out. The most likely solution, in my opinion, will be a hybrid. Perhaps a system similar to RE5's shared inventory but streamlined. Or, more radically, they could pivot to a companion command system where you primarily play as one character, likely Rebecca, and issue context-sensitive commands to Billy, similar to Atreus in God of War. This would maintain the two-character narrative without the clunky swapping. This is a far bigger mechanical overhaul than any remake Capcom has attempted before. Then there's the story and tone. Resident Evil Zero is pure, uncut B-movie camp. We are talking about a primary antagonist who was an opera-singing man made of leeches. The plot is wonderfully, bafflingly convoluted. This is where the casting of Jon McLaren as Billy Coen becomes so important. McLaren is a fantastic, nuanced actor. His performance as Star-Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy game was celebrated because it perfectly balanced sarcastic humor with genuine heart and trauma. Billy Coen, in the original, was not that. He was the brooding con with a heart of gold stereotype, complete with a mysterious past and a giant unexplained arm tattoo. This casting signals a complete rewrite. Capcom is clearly investing heavily in the narrative, aiming to give the dynamic between the 18-year-old rookie medic Rebecca Chambers and the 26-year-old framed ex-convict real dramatic weight. The involvement of a high-end mocap studio like Beyond Capture confirms they aren't shying away from the story. They're trying to ground the more wild elements. They want to make the Leech Queen genuinely terrifying, not just theatrically weird. The RE4 remake proved they can balance camp and horror, but this will be the ultimate test. This is also Capcom's chance to finally fix Rebecca Chambers. In RE0, she's a capable, intelligent STARS prodigy. In RE1, which takes place immediately after, she's famous for cowering in a closet and needing Chris to save her. This remake is her origin story, and it has to, finally, create a consistent, strong character for her. So what does this all mean for the future of the franchise? It means Capcom is running an incredibly aggressive and stable 3-track system. Track 1 is the mainline story-forward games. RE9 is the 2029 blockbuster, the grand finale to the Winter's Era saga. Track 2 is the new IP testbed, which is Resident Evil Requiem in February 2026. That's the game with the new protagonist, Grace Ashcroft, the return to Raccoon City, and the supposed heavy horror focus. It's the appetizer. Track 3 is the remake per year track. Code Veronica in 2027 is the slam dunk, the fan favorite. Resident Evil Zero in 2028 is the high-risk, high-reward wild card. This makes RE0 the most interesting project of the bunch. It's Capcom's biggest gamble. If they pull it off, if they can modernize the partner zapping and fix the inventory, they will have proven that any classic RE game, no matter how flawed, can be remade into a masterpiece. If it fails, it could poison the well for future, more obscure remakes. By 2028, the RE engine will be an incredibly mature and powerful toolset. We should be expecting a level of graphical fidelity and environmental physics that makes even the gorgeous RE4 remake look dated. This won't just be a remake. It will be Capcom's definitive statement on whether Resident Evil Zero's core ideas deserved to exist in the first place. This confirms the pipeline is full, but the biggest hurdle remains RE0's fundamental design. Here is the question that I would like to debate. To turn the Resident Evil Zero remake into a certified classic, should Capcom either entirely eliminate the partner zapping system and allow you to choose one character to pursue a unique campaign, or is it possible to truly amend the inventory nightmare without losing the dual protagonist system? Let me know your solution for it in the comments. And if you appreciate this kind of deep dive analysis, subscribe for more.